Hey everybody, this is Brian with Seafoam Official. In this video I'm going to show you an easy and awesome system that covers the 3 keys to protecting our outboards and fuel systems during seasonal storage. Not only does it work great, you don't need a bunch of fancy equipment to do it. We're going to show you step by step how to clean and lubricate through fuel injector rails and carburetor passageways. We're going to use the same system to lubricate and protect your outboard's intake and chamber areas during seasonal storage. Then we're going to cover a simple tank fuel management trick that works for all types of seasonal engines, including those high-tech outboards with high-pressure fuel pumps. This system works for 2 strokes, 4 strokes, carburetors, or any type of outboard fuel injection. When added to fuel, Seafoam works through the entire fuel system to safely dissolve petroleum residues and deposits that restrict fuel passageways and impair engine function. Seafoam liquefies softer hydrocarbon varnish from carburetor needles, clears out jets, bowls, and fuel nozzles, helps restore fuel injector spray patterns, cleans deposits from intake valves, cleans and lubricates upper cylinder and chamber areas, and dissolves petroleum residues that can restrict compression rings. All you need is 1 can of Seafoam motor treatment, a small tank of fresh fuel, and a short section of fuel line you can get from any marine dealer. For cleaning and upper engine storage, mix 1 part Seafoam motor treatment to 2 parts fresh gasoline. I'm going to winterize 3 outboards here, so I'm going to add 1 pint of Seafoam to 2 pints of gasoline. That's a concentration equivalent of 40 cans of Seafoam to 10 gallons of fuel. Now remember that Seafoam is made from highly refined petroleum cleaning and lubricating oils. There is nothing about Seafoam ingredients that could cause any harm to any fuel system part or components. In fact, when using a high cleaning concentration of Seafoam like we're doing here, the better and faster it works to clean and lubricate our engines. Let's get started. Step 1 is to start and warm up the engine. With the water hose running and hooked up, start the outboard and let it run for at least 5 minutes to heat up the intake. Step 2 is to disconnect the outboard's main fuel line from the primer bulb. After warming up the engine, shut it off and disconnect the fuel line from the primer bulb. If your engine doesn't have a primer bulb, you probably have a high-pressure fuel pump. We'll cover that at the end of Step 4. Step 3 is getting Seafoam into the carburetors or injector fuel rails. With the main fuel line disconnected, attach your short piece of fuel hose and submerge the open end in the Seafoam and gas mixture. Start the engine back up and just let it run for at least 15 minutes on the high cleaning concentration, allowing the Seafoam to draw through the carburetor circuits or injectors and into the chamber areas. Now shut off the engine to let Seafoam work with the engine heat to dissolve and liquefy harmful residues and deposits. Step 4 is hot soaking the engine and engine storage. After letting Seafoam hot soak in the chamber for 5 minutes, start the engine back up and let it run for another 5 minutes, allowing any dissolved hydrocarbon residues to burn out the exhaust. Then simply shut off the engine and reconnect your main fuel line. If you're planning to store the outboard for a season, you're all done. Seafoam not only stabilizes the fuel inside the engine, it's a high-temp penetrating oil that works to lubricate throughout the intake and chamber areas. For an added measure of lubricating protection, we recommend pulling the spark plugs and spray a long burst of Seafoam spray into each cylinder cavity. If your outboard has a high-pressure fuel pump and does not have a fuel bulb, run the fuel tank to low. The closer you get to 1/8 of a tank, the better. With the minimum amount of fuel in your tank, add 1 ounce of Seafoam for every gallon of fuel your tank holds. If your tank size is 30 gallons, add at least 30 ounces of Seafoam. Run the engine for at least 15 minutes to work the high concentration of Seafoam through the injectors and chamber areas. When you turn off your engine for the season, you've just added Seafoam to help lubricate and protect your intake and cylinder cavities from dry out and corrosion. Step 5 is stabilize your boat's tank fuel. Seafoam not only cleans and lubricates the inside of your engine, Seafoam also works to stabilize tank fuel for at least 2 years by resisting the formation of unstable fuel molecules. Whether you fill your tank or leave it empty is up to you. Either way, 1 ounce of Seafoam for every gallon of fuel your tank holds will help protect your fuel system, whether full, empty, or partially filled. My personal preference is to dump 2 or 3 cans of Seafoam into an empty tank and call it good. One reason is that I live in a cool, dry winter climate where there's no possibility of water vapor condensation in my boat's plastic tank space, especially having no thermal mass of fuel sitting in the tank. It also allows me to add any amount of highly volatile fresh fuel to a cleaning concentration of Seafoam when I'm ready to run again. Filling your tank works fine too. So there you have it. We have Seafoam motor treatment in our tank fuel to protect and stabilize our gasoline over the storage period. We've got Seafoam's high concentration work through our fuel systems. Our engines are clean, running like a top. When we shut them down, all that lubrication is protecting the intake and all those cylinder cavities over the storage period. Instructions and diagrams for all types of Seafoam treatments can be found on our website's How To Instructions page at seafoamsales.com. High concentration Seafoam applications can be used on all kinds of gasoline and diesel engines. Until next time, this is Brian with Seafoam Official. Thank you for watching.